Happy Wednesday, everyone. Happy Wednesday, everyone. How are you doing, guys? Thank you. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. Happy Wednesday, everyone. How are you doing, guys? Let's like the live. Let's like the live, guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys, for joining. Thank you guys for joining. Thank you guys for joining. How are you doing this great Wednesday, guys? How are you doing? How are you doing this great Wednesday, guys? Thank you for joining. Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Thank you for voting. Yeah, today we are having a very interesting topic. It's all about self, or what we call personal sovereignty. Personal sovereignty. Very interesting topic. Yeah, very interesting. Considering that the topic can be looked, at the personal level, or even at the national level, or even at the international level. That's how wide sovereignty is. Mm? That's how wide sovereignty is, guys. Wow, finally guys, thank you very much for joining. Today guys is all about personal sovereignty. This is a very instrumental topic as it covers, the aspect of having the self-governance, and autonomy. Yeah. uh, where an individual has absolute self-governance, autonomy, actions, as well as decisions. Including, and when we talk about the decision, guys, this one composes of what is in their mind, in their spirit, in their financial, as well as without any external interferences. That's the essence of personal sovereignty. Yeah, so this one is a very important important component. If you look at the personal level, or if you check it maybe at the national level, because even at the end of the day, all institutions of governance, uh, be it in all institutions of governance, and even the constitution, at the end of the day, always realizes and establishes that there is need for personal sovereignty to be attained. So personal sovereignty is very important, because what is really enforced is all about lack of external interferences. With the way maybe you are doing things, with the way Peter, hi, once I understand that no man is an island, I will figure out personal sovereignty, but maybe the Buddhist who stay in temples free from want understand personal sovereignty. I agree. In most of African contexts, personal sovereignty might not be very, might not be something that we are very used to, because at the end of the day, the government of the day, the institutions, you know, even our way of living, it's always, they are always linked with a lot of interferences. That should be the way. Most of the things that we do, most of the decisions that we make, even in our mode of thinking, I agree that most of those decisions are always linked with a lot of interferences. However, if we really now follow the key route, to personal sovereignty, this is where we are really saying that this is where an individual should be able to attain what we call inherent, right to control their own life without any form of interference. Having what we call the cornerstone of liberty, self-determination, uh, as well as having what we call the human rights. Yeah, I agree. In our society today, human rights are always very, very, uh, they are always very, very violated, maybe by the institutions, maybe by the government, and even those in the society that we always maybe perceive to be higher in terms of resources and maybe power. At the end of the day, violating human rights, I think, mostly in our African context, is always a norm. And when it is always a norm, then we can never have the way that we can be able to say that we are having what we can say true sovereignty, true personal sovereignty. However, in a working in a working environment, personal sovereignty should really prevail. It should work very, very efficiently. This is where individuals should be able, at the end of the day, to realize what we call self-autonomy. This is where you really want to attain what we call self-ownership and the essence of thinking without any form of coercion. This is where you have your natural right and you control over your own decisions, your own body, and maybe even your exclusive ownership of anything that you have. However, I think things in our African context, they are a little bit more complex, because when you come to the issue of morality, I think morality, we as Africans, we don't control morality, you know, at the personal level. Morality tend to be thing that has been, that has been controlled by the society. Because at the end of the day, each and every society or each and every community, there is a way or a form that it views its morality. There are some things maybe in my community that we view to be right, but now when you go to the other side, in terms of moral or that morality, they always seem to be things that are very, very maybe negative, and things maybe they are not accepted in that community. So when you comes to the issue of morality, I agree, in our context, African context, morality is never controlled at the personal level. The issue of also the natural rights, these are rights that really come naturally. You know, they like to think, they like to do things freely. At the end of the day, most government or most institutions in power, they always have what we call limitations. They really want us, to act within a certain boundary, and in the context, we lose now the bearing of what we call the personal sovereignty. So personal sovereignty is a very, very good ideology, but at the end of the day, we always lose it because there are a lot of what we call the external interferences. The other issue that is linked with what we call, personal sovereignty is the issue of internal control. And when we talk about the issue of internal control, this is where we are really focusing on owning our own thoughts, feelings, desires, fostering sense of self-regulations as well as self-management. And the reason why I would always say that our internal control is always threatened and always misused to the highest level, It's all about the court cases that I have always been seeing for centuries, for ages. I have seen a lot of court cases, and in all the court cases that I have always seen, when you are taken to the judge or to the jury, the only thing that you are being asked is all the counts, all the counts or all the actions that maybe you are being accused of. They are read, and then at the end of the day, you are just asked to answer yes or no question. Answer. You just give either a yes or no answer, and then you realize when you give a yes or no answer, even the thoughts that you had really had in terms of maybe saying what you really felt that it was the right thing, it's always limited to the greatest extent, and in the process of remitting now these lights, it really became very, very disruptive, even the way now we start now handling the entire process. The other thing is all about the self-regulation. I have always my desires, restrictive government rules, social norms, organized religion limit my personal sovereignty. By the way, is the person a human? Is personal sovereignty a human right? Yeah, that's Peter. That's another food for thought. Yeah, very, very instrumental, very, very instrumental. It should be a human right, because when we are talking about sovereignty, we are talking about doing things without having any form of parameters. You are controlling them at the personal level, but as we have said, we have a lot of limits. Be it at the personal, be it at maybe government regulating each and everything that we do in terms of regulations, in terms of guidelines, in terms of giving us direction, and therefore it should be part of the human right. But at the end of the day, the human right that is really outlined in what we call our constitution is not the same human right that we really apply. What is there is different on what is on ground. So it should be a human right, but personal sovereignty now becomes threatened, especially when maybe we even have what we call the preset norms, just as you have said. Uh, I remember, growing up as a young man. Karen Sasa, how are you doing today? Karen Jepkilui, how are you doing today? How are you doing today? Niko poa kabisa, Karen. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. So personal sovereignty should be part of human right. That one should be part of human right. But now, what is really outlined maybe in the constitution is very, very different from what is being practiced out there. Because of all these things that you have said. I'm good. What about you? I'm doing fine, Karen. I'm doing fantastic fine. I'm doing fantastic fine. This great Wednesday. Thank you. Thank you for the like. This great Wednesday. I'm doing fantastic fine. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for the likes. Thank you guys for the likes. Thank you guys for the likes. So guys, when you talk about personal sovereignty, they should be part and parcel of human life. Yeah, they should be part and parcel of human life. Uh, because what you are saying, we should be able to think personal sovereignty as a philosophical foundation and human right. You know, that's how we should view it. So it should be, it is something which is universal, but we should really taking it as human right, because at the end of the day, when we have now the sovereignty, we are able now to practice each and everything that that is being established, maybe by the constitution or maybe something of such. So self-sovereignty, when you look at from a broader perspective, yeah, it's a form of philosophy that maybe combines, all the rights that maybe they are really outlined maybe in a constitution, that are really linked with what we call the personal or the human rights. So personal sovereignty is such a very important thing, in such a way that when practiced in the right way, it should also be able to enable us to achieve what we call the self-determination. This is where we as the individuals, with the self-sovereignty, we are able to choose the direction of our lives and make those independent, decisions. But as we have said, at the end of the day, we are having a lot of limitations, like left center, because we are having massive, what we may call massive interference from the external factors or from the external actors, but in personal sovereignty. So this is where maybe you are making personal independent decisions. And now this one now comes in and raises us a very critical question about self-sovereignty. Does it even have some limitations? Because at the end of the day, when you talk about personal sovereignty, we are really focusing on having, making own decisions without any coercion, and maybe choosing the right direction for maybe your life. And now this one is also massive violated, I think by the global constitutions, because at the end of the day, when you are it is always perceived, that you cannot make what we may call the right judgment. So you cannot it, because at the end of the day, what happens to that child who is maybe 11 years old, you know does he or she, have what we may call the personal sovereignty? That should be another question that is very critical for us to think when we really say that self or personal sovereignty should be operating at individual level, in such a way that personal sovereignty, most of the time, it is really perceived maybe to work when maybe one reaches the age of majority and above. And this is what really happens in Kenya. I have seen a lot of cases, young cases about young people, and then at the end of the day, based on their age, even the law recognizes that those young kids that are below the age of majority maybe cannot be liable, for making some decisions uh, compared to an individual maybe who have attained that age of majority. You know that's another very instrumental thing that we need to consider when now we focus on the issue of personal sovereignty. So personal sovereignty is such a very instrumental thing, but it comes with a lot of limitation. That's one of the key foundations that we must all and always remember. The other issue is all about responsibility. You know, uh, it is perceived when we have what we call personal sovereignty. This is where we are able to do what we are, to live what we may call a responsible life. This is where now responsibility becomes as a right, requiring an individual to take their rights, their actions, and also to manage their needs and desires. I don't know if that's your greatest thing, always managing your desires. That's where now we have what we may call the self-responsibility. So self-responsibility is another key element of personal sovereignty. And then we have the issue of boundaries. Yeah, this is where now personal sovereignty, calls for establishment of respect. Yeah, since we are talking of personal sovereignty, this is where it calls for respect of uh, personal boundaries. This is where we really want to respect the emotions of others. This is where maybe we really want to respect the aspect of, the physical aspect of others, and the need to maintain personal, the personal view of others. So we really have to respect the rights of others, their boundaries in terms of physical, be it emotional, or be it even energetic. So it's very, very key to understand that physical, that personal sovereignty, it does also establish the need for establishment of boundaries. And one of the key central philosophy that is always being, that is being connected with what we may call as personal sovereignty is all about the entire view of where it can be applied. You know, like in our society, we are really operating on an aspect of a rebel society. You know, we are rebel. We are rebel society, and being a rebel society, this is where now we should be able now to experience what we may call individualism. This is where maybe when we talk about individualism, this is where maybe we should be making, we should be respecting the boundaries of others. We should be making decisions without any coercion. We should also be responsible in ensuring that our actions and our rights and and our desires too are respected without any external interferences. And therefore, uh, we expect the aspect of sovereignty or personal sovereignty to be mostly enacted or enabled in societies that embraces the idea of individualism. Like here in Kenya, individualism, I think it's our key concept because we are a liberal nation. We are a liberal nation. This is where we live in liberty. We live in, even in our constitution, even in our national anthem. Yeah, we always sing in liberty. We have a verse that says in liberty, may we dwell in peace, love, and liberty. Because we are liberal, may we dwell in peace, love, and liberty. Because at the end of the day, we really desire to have that liberty. The liberty to think, the liberty to do things, the liberty, our rights to be respected. So it is mostly, it should be reinforced in societies that really focus on individualistic ideas, because at the end of the day, we really want to reinforce, we really want to reinforce on the idea of personal sovereignty, especially to an individual, not to a holistic society, but just to individuals. That should be the thing. And then personal sovereignty has also been realized to be instrumental, especially when societies really want to reinforce on what we may call the psychological perspective. Peter, what about no man is an island? It puts a lot of limitation on personal sovereignty. That is, personal sovereignty is not an absolute right. We live in the world with a lot of constraint. Yes, I agree, and I have always been acknowledging that personal sovereignty comes with a lot of limitation. Yeah, there are some of the societies, and I think it's even global. Yeah, the concept of personal sovereignty, I think it's always limited by each and every world, or by each and every society, because at the end of the day, be it the constitution, it have to put some limits on what you do. So in the process of putting those limitations, it also limit your personal sovereignty. The same thing when you are doing business, be it at the local level, international level, or at any level, there are some limitations. You know, there are some guidelines, there are some rules and regulations, and these rules and regulations, at the end of the day, they really limit us. They really limit us on what we should do, the do's and the don'ts. And in the process of applying the do's and the don'ts, our personal, our personal sovereignty is really curtailed, because at the end of the day, imagine where you are doing business and then you are told, do not do this. So you are built now for autonomy, to think freely on what you'd have done. Maybe it reaches a point where maybe it's being regulated that you should not do this beyond that, because at the end of the day, now you just find the entire sovereignty is really curtailed. But at the core thing is all about, okay, sovereignty can never be attained at 100%. That's the thing, you know. But we have some, through some parameters, we can be able to say maybe in a certain society, sovereignty maybe it's at the higher end, and maybe in another society, based on how the entire thing is being regulated, we can say maybe it's on the lower end. You see, so it all depends on which society are you, because there are some societies, even thinking becomes a problem. You think, and then once you think and maybe you say things 1 2 3, you're already in trouble. So that now is the highest and the worst level at which personal sovereignty can be limited. But there are some other societies where maybe you can say we have free thinkers, you where maybe you really want to try out something, and then at the end of the day, maybe you are given the space to think, you are given maybe the resources to try on what you have been thinking, and then at the end of the day, we can say that a higher version of what we may call the personal sovereignty. So personal sovereignty can never really be attained at 100% per se. No, it can never be, because at the end of the day, regulations, guidelines, and all these form of systems, they must be there. And in the process of instilling all these forms of systems, at the end of the day, they must put a lot of limitations. And once we have the limitations, then what we are calling the absolute right. Because when you talk about the absolute right, we are saying that you are just having rights that maybe they are not even regulated. Yeah, but in I don't think even we have, I think that should be, having absolute right is like we are having what we may call a perfect world. Yeah, but at the end of the day, I don't think we have a perfect world, because we have a lot of systems. The government system is there, so it must limit you. Your workplace maybe has a system on the codes and conduct. That's another way that they also limits what we may call your personal sovereignty. Even in our houses, even in our homes, yeah, personal sovereignty is always limited. Because we also outline the do's and the don'ts, maybe to our kids, maybe to how maybe we relate with others, and in the process of putting those regulations, the guidelines, now we really curtail, or we really delimit what we may call the personal sovereignty. But in a perfect world, yeah, of which it's very rare for a perfect world to exist. That's how personal sovereignty should really operate. But since we are living in an imperfect world, then we must accept that personal sovereignty must have some limitations. Yeah, because for instance, let's say maybe you have killed or maybe, yeah, let's say maybe you have killed because you really thought that killing was right, maybe, yeah, maybe killing was right, because there are some communities that really believe maybe doing such a malpractice is right. Then at the end of the day, that's their personal sovereignty. They may say this is my personal sovereignty, but now where do we put the limitation? Because at the end of the day, we live with people, and we really want to really ensure that we also, in as much as we are practicing what we are calling the personal sovereignty, we also put some limitations to how we handle others that we are interacting with. And therefore, I'm really agreeing that personal sovereignty is really important. Yeah, but on very rare cases do we experience this at the full scale. That should be the point. Then the other issue about personal sovereignty is all about the application of autonomy. This is where we really want to recognize, the human rights at all level, at all levels, and at the end of the day, I think if there is one of the key issues or one of the key aspects that really focuses on personal sovereignty, is all about having what we may call the international human rights treaties. Because at the end of the day, it really recognizes how to treat people, how to ensure that their rights are treated, and also how to ensure that maybe they operate without coercion. And one of the key fundamental and some of the key fundamentals that really focuses on national, that really focuses on personal sovereignty when you come to the issues being addressed by the human rights treaties, is all about issues of ensuring that people can be able to make decisions, quality decisions without any coercion, and then we ensure that they also, that one's health and reproductive life is well attained without any coercion. So coercion is one of the, or coercion, or the elimination of coercion is very fundamental when we talk about the issue of personal sovereignty. The other issue is all about the issue of self-ownership, swearing that the moral right, to have integrity and control your life is well applied without any form of coercion. That should be the thing. Yeah, we don't want to have any type of coercion, as long as maybe you are applying your life with a lot of integrity and controlling your own life. Then it's all about, the other issue is all about the individual liberty. Because when you talk about the issue of individual liberty, this is a form of a national declaration, or what we may call the universal. This is a form of universal declaration, where we are really saying that there is need to protect lives. The need to ensure that human rights are recognized, such as the right to life, the right to liberty, and the right to security. Yeah. And I think that's where now most of the state organs comes in when we talk about the personal sovereignty, because at the end of the day, the state must be able to offer what we may call right to life. Yeah, it should also be able to offer you with security, as well as liberty to do your own things. For instance, what I really love about my country, we have the liberty. We have the liberty to do business. We have the liberty maybe to act the way we really want to act, and even we have the liberty to make our own choices without any coercion. Because I have learned in some other countries, there are some other countries that people are really living even having the right maybe to security is such a privilege. For instance, I have seen very many nations fighting, and then at the end of the day, there is no security, and there is no there is no, protection of lives and properties. And then in the process, we just realize now the entire concept of personal sovereignty is really, really messed up. And therefore, when we really talk about the individual liberty, for us to recognize the essence of life, the essence of liberty, and the essence of security, it must go in hand with the security agencies, or what we may call the state. The other issue is all about the source of other rights. Yeah, the source of other rights. Uh, this is where now the entire concept of sovereignty really want us to appreciate that the supreme authority over the lives of others must be protected. For instance, we must protect the freedom of thought, opinion, and movement of others without any coercion. Without any coercion. And therefore, it's very, very fundamental for us to always appreciate that personal sovereignty, personal sovereignty is such a very, very important aspect that we should really, really understand when it comes to how we handle humanity. However, as we have said, personal sovereignty comes with a lot of challenges, and one of the key challenges that is really linked with personal sovereignty is all about the issue of legal interpretation. Because when you talk about the issue of legal interpretation, this is where we always realize that most rights, as we said before, even though they are absolute right, they are always under certain parameters. We don't really practice those rights uh, as absolute, because we really have a lot of legal systems that really defines on how we should practice our rights. And therefore, one of the key things that really limits what we may call the personal, sovereignty is all about the issue of legal interpretation, as we have said, and we have said legally. Most of the rights that we always experience, they are not really natural, because at the end of the day, they are always, limited to the greatest extent. Yeah, they are always limited to the greatest extent. And and I love this statement that says, many countries, legal systems are built on the ideal of personal sovereignty. Many nations are built on the aspect of personal sovereignty, uh, they are always seeking for the balance. Yeah, since they are built, many countries legal systems are built on the ideas of personal sovereignty, no one has unlimited personal sovereignty. That is the thing. No country has what we may call unlimited personal sovereignty, because at the end of the day, human rights and freedom must be exercised. However, they must be exercised within certain parameters. So, and this one now says that legal protection are necessary to ensure that personal sovereignty is really, really protected. So there is that need to ensure that personal sovereignty are really, really protected, and that one can always be required through legal protection. And I think this is what has been really happening in Kenya, and I think when it comes to enforcing of what we may call the personal sovereignty, I think in Kenya we are among the best nations that have really focused on protecting personal sovereignty, because each and every time maybe we are having some few individuals, maybe in the parliament or wherever they are, maybe in the institutions of power, and probably they are not really acting according to the needs maybe of the common man, through the personal sovereignty, that is outlined in our bills of right. You always find that we are having a lot of guys who are really acting as activists, and the activists, through the activist actions, they are able maybe to take a legal injunction, or maybe they are able maybe to to stop even some of the key cases or some of the key bills that are really not favoring the common man, and in the process that's a clear way of ensuring maybe we are really focusing on ensuring that we protect what we may call the personal sovereignty. So protection of personal sovereignty, I think it's really, really high in high gear in my country, Kenya. Though at the end of the day, we really have maybe a system that does not really favor, the application of personal sovereignty, mostly because of what we may call the political reasons and maybe of personal benefits. And this also comes to what we have been experiencing as a nation. This is where maybe, at the national level, this is where maybe we are being, each and every time we are being told, or we are reading, now and then, that even our borders have been breached. This is where maybe within our borders we don't have the effective protection within our borders, and then at the end of the day you just find that we are having a lot of foreigners, breaching into our borders. I think that has really messed up with the entire way of how our nation operates. Yeah, because when we talk about the national sovereignty, because now we advance from the personal to national sovereignty. One of the key ways of ensuring that national sovereignty is really protected is all about protecting the people, within certain confines or certain boundaries. But really, this is not the thing that we are really experiencing today, in such a way that maybe due to personal interest, the political class that we are really having today, we just realize that that they have even breached the national sovereignty as a way maybe of injecting more people in the nation, as a way maybe of benefiting in one way or another. So personal sovereignty and national sovereignty, they go hand in hand. You cannot breach the national sovereignty and then you pretend that you are going to ensure that maybe you enact on personal sovereignty. No. If it's the state that is ought to protect the national sovereignty, it must, if it is unable to protect the national sovereignty, then there is no way it can be able to protect what we may call the personal sovereignty. And therefore, guys, it's always very, very critical for us to appreciate each and every time that sovereignty is always a very, very instrumental philosophy when it comes to understanding on how we should handle, human rights, because at the end of the day, there is need to enforce on autonomy. We really need to have people that really think without being coerced. And I think coercion is form of I think coercion is one of the worst enemy that we are having, maybe when it comes to the application of what we may call the personal sovereignty, because at the end of the day, coercion has really taken toll. It has really taken toll in our society. This is where maybe the political class is always coercing. The big fish is always the big fish are always maybe coercing the smaller ones, in the name maybe of doing some key agenda. Yeah, like today I saw of a report of one of the governors that was really that some of the members of county assembly really wanted to impeach, but due to to what we may call the conflict of interest, yeah, that really infiltrates on what we are talking about today, the personal sovereignty. Those guys that really came up with the ideas were really caught somewhere and given a different direction, as a way of protecting maybe some few individuals' personal interest. And when you check at the whole thing, at the end of the day is all about the violation of the personal sovereignty, because that ability to think, as an individual, has is always messed up. And once it is messed up, then at the end of the day, when it comes to the issue of good governance, it fails. When it comes to the issue of good judgment, it fails. When it comes to the issue of ensuring maybe we apply decisions in the right manner, and maybe we project even on how we are going to do things in the future in the right way, it also fails at the greatest magnitude. And therefore, there is need for us, to keep on reinforcing on self-sovereignty. And this one should start at the personal level. This is where maybe you make a decision that even if I'm going to be bribed, I'm not going to do ABCD, because I understand the concept of personal sovereignty. I understand the concept of ensuring that I use my brain without any form of coercion, without any form of intimidation, and I make the right decision, because that's where everything fails. The moment we start making decisions, that are already coerced, then at the end of the day, we cannot be able to achieve the goals that we really desire, maybe to transform, even at the personal level or the community level, or even at the national level. And the other issue why we should advocate, we should advocate for personal sovereignty, is all about the issue of gaining self-ownership. We really want people to control their lives. We don't want government or institutions to control how people are going to act on certain issues. And I always feel very sorry, and I always feel very intimidated, especially when I see each and every element of the constitution being breached, because at the end of the day, self-ownership is not really valued at the society level. This is where at the end of the day, maybe certain individuals really want to interfere with what we may call integrity. And then once integrity has been interfered with, then at the end of the day, the basis of the fundamental human rights, they are always violated. The other aspect that we should call for, is all about the individual liberty. Let people live, let people live in dignity. Let's also equalize on rights. And I think this is where mostly we have failed as African nations, especially when it comes to the issue of liberty, because we really, even when we go to the to our court system, or what we may call our judicial system, we really want to to weigh, yeah, we really want to weigh issues based on who is who in the society. And once now we start weighing issues on who is who in the society, we really now messes up with individual liberty. Because at the end of the day, you see maybe a certain guy has really looted billions of shillings, but now when they go through a court system, maybe they are really given bails that maybe they can be able to raise. At the end of the day, the same case for a certain guy, maybe with nothing, you know, that becomes the head of the road, and therefore it always messes with what we may call the personal liberty, because we are not doing what we may call the equalization in terms of rights, and equalization in terms of ensuring that we live in free and also in dignity. Then the other issue is all about reinforcing personal sovereignty as a basis of ensuring that we get all the rights, the rights to privacy, the right to have a family, the right of personal control. Today we have the right of the social media, the right maybe to, all those rights, because we have a lot of rights. And I saw this source of other rights, being messed up by the government of the day, especially in my country, Kenya, when they really wanted to come with a bill that would always limit us on how we use our social media platform. That was a very, very, very drastic move of ensuring that personal sovereignty was really, really curtailed at the highest level. And therefore, it's always very critical to ensure that we protect human rights at all levels, and the easiest way and the first way to do that is all about the personal sovereignty. So personal sovereignty topic is a very, very critical topic because it really focuses on how we focus on ensuring that we have a holistic approach in ensuring that the bills of right and the natural rights about an individual are always attained. So guys, that's my view on personal rights. Yes, that's my view on personal rights. I believe that we are always living in a world where we need to really, uh, where we really need to ensure that personal sovereignty is attained. And therefore, guys, on our topic today, how well do you understand the concept of personal sovereignty? Uh, Thank you so much for always contributing. And I have seen that which view of personal sovereignty do you protect the most? Yeah, and the biggest issue or the biggest thing that people are really focusing on when they talk about the personal sovereignty is all about protecting boundaries. Boundaries are very, very, very critical, I agree, because at the end of the day, if we have boundaries, then it becomes easier on how on how other people really handles our rights, on how our emotional needs are really handled, on how our physical issues are really handled, as well as ensuring that our dignity at the personal level is all maintained, because people cannot just come from nowhere and then they just come and start violating our rights. So thank you guys for always tuning in. Thank you guys for always coming each and every day, for having us always discuss very, very very, very essential topics that really focus on our rights. It's always pressure, guys. So guys, I think I'm going to come at the end of this live, and I always really want to thank you, to always appreciate you guys. I have a new video, guys, today that I uploaded. Kindly guys go and watch it, kindly go and share it, guys, as well as you can comment on it. So many other videos, guys, will be coming through, so let's always always stay tuned via this platform. As always, guys, I really want to say thank you. May you have a great night, a great day, or even a great morning, depending on where you are going to watch this video, guys. As always, this is your platform where we interact, where we learn from each other, and most importantly, where we have fun. Let's meet tomorrow, guys. Same place, same time. Thank you, guys.